started recording. It's 7:08 p.m. We have a quorum. So I will read the gobbledygook. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, which extends the Governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027, this meeting will be conducted both in person and virtually via Google Meet. I probably should have started with welcome everybody to the Community Preservation Committee meeting of August 7th, August 6th. I'm a day ahead of myself already. Having read that, I will accept a motion to open the meeting.
Motion made.
Motion made by Rich Terry, who is here in the room. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? The meeting is open.
I'm going to take a vote.
Got to take a vote because we're online. Barry keeps me honest all the time, so we got to do a roll call vote. Rich Terry.
Yes.
Bob Desmond.
Yes.
John Linehan.
Yes.
Don Brady.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So with that, first up on our agenda, project updates, we have Reggie Medeiros Kowalczykowski. I thought I used to know how to say that. But anyway, Reggie's here to give us an update on the Vital Records Preservation Project. With that, I'll turn it over to Reggie.
Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for having me. So I think at the last meeting we talked about the project that we had underway to redo our vault. I think the previous clerk started preserving some of the records and then we found we didn't really have room to store those records. So we shifted a little bit and we started with a vault reorganized. So we had Donegan Systems was in and they have started the project for us. Unfortunately, it should have been completed by now, but when they came in to install the shelving and get us moving, we discovered there was asbestos and mold in the vault. So it is now completely shut. The records are all in my office. And this Friday, we have a remediation company coming in to get rid of the asbestos and the mold, and we expect to put everything back in to the new vault sometime next week. Donegan Systems is coming in. It's a 3-day project where they'll install our shelving, and that's kind of where we're at. There will still be some funding left over in that CPC money that I will probably continue on with the preservation of the records, but at this point we thought that it was more important to just get the shelving and get everything in place to make the most of the storage space, because we do have a lot of records that are stored in the downstairs vault that really should be moved upstairs, so this will help us do that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Let me just ask, so the remediation, what is that being paid out of? CPA funds? Or-
The finance director has figured a way to pay that, so I'm not sure what account she took that out of, but she did find a way to absorb those costs. So that'll be all taken care of.
Excellent.
Okay.
That's good. It's good to see the project moving and getting someplace. This is one of the first projects that I think when I joined the CPC 12 years ago was one of the first projects that came up to us. So it's obviously got a long history of people involved with it, but thank you for getting it moving, Reggie. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think I talked to Barry. I have not reached out to Dwight, but we talked about, I talked about coming for next year, maybe an addition on the new application with maybe preserving like the town meeting minutes. There's years of minutes from town meetings that are just they're either in folders or they're in books, and I really would like to preserve those. They're not that old. They might go back, 30, 40 years, but they really should be in a preserved mode so that when people want to look things up, they'll be there for them to be able to do that. Because right now we find that a lot of the paper is deteriorating, or it gets wrinkled, or it's you know, it's just not as, it's not as convenient to access as it would be if it was a bound record. So I probably will likely be back to try to do that.
John Monahan
John
has a
has a
question?
question?
Just a quick comment. Would it be better to just digitize that stuff where it's not actually historic, in the historic sense of the word? It's more factual. It seems like it might be a better way to store it.
Okay, I mean, I can definitely look into that. I was under the impression that the town meeting votes and records would be like an historic preservation. But I can certainly look into that.
Yeah, I just feel like they'd be more accessible and more practical than, you know, something we're trying to preserve from the 1700s or something.
Okay, I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think on that note, the whole distinction between the vital records and other town records, there may be some issues from a CPC perspective as to what we can spend on, but the right place to start is with the historical commission to make their determinations, and then we can do some research, Barry.
Yep. Yeah, I would suggest, Reggie, just put in a pre-application, that's the simpler one. They're due by August 15th, that's why I say just get it in. So if you don't end up
Okay.
going forward, at least you have it, you know, I mean, if you do end up going forward, at least you have started the process on time.
Okay, I will definitely do that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Barry, I know we got a note. The next one up is the Elm Street Fields.
Yep.
And we got a note from Steve Barden. He was going to attend, but something came up at work and he can't be here. He did indicate his project is complete with, I think we'd hold off with one exception, but
Yeah.
it's on budget, it's on time. All the work is done. I think the only outstanding item there from our perspective is a permanent sign acknowledging the CPC, the use of CPC funds. And he said he'd come to a future meeting, so we can follow up and have that conversation.
Yep. I just want to thank you, Reggie, for
Okay, thank you so much for your support, and I hope you all come and take a look when it's complete.
I will.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I jumped ahead a little there, but we have an update on the conservation restriction for Benson Road.
Yep.
I don't know if John and Barry, who's going to speak, but Barry's done
I'll
some
take
work
it.
there.
I've been working on it, unless you want to jump in, if you want to jump in also, John. Okay. I've been working on finalizing, well, let me step back for a minute. We met with Wildlands Trust back in, I believe it was April. They came to Stoughton, went to 3 sites, Benson Road, the Atkinson property, and Glen Echo, to take a look at whether they wanted to take on the active rec conservation restriction as well, since they already hold the conservation restriction for the open space, which completely surrounds it. Getting back to Benson Road, we did hear back from Scott McFadden, who was our contact there, that it's a go on Atkinson and on Benson Road. Glen Echo, they need more information, and they're going to take it up at their next board meeting in October. So circling back to, I'm going to take Benson Road and Atkinson together because I've been working on both of those. Basically finishing up the language for the conservation restrictions. When I went back to them, I found that Atkinson had been done first, and I found that Benson had been basically, the guts of it had been taken and borrowed from Atkinson. However, there are 2 completely different projects with completely different purposes. Atkinson, the purpose was to gain access to 200 acres of open space adjoining. Benson is being preserved for its own sake as open space. So the purposes are very different. I went back, updated that, went through both documents, both conservation restriction drafts with a fine-tooth comb. Made sure I was happy with the language. I found some things that were accidentally deleted, I believe, and put them back in. So it was quite a process. It took me, it was a few days' work doing all that for both of those. I went online to the state's website, the DCS, Mass Division of Conservation Services. They are the body that okays the conservation restriction. So there's an application form. So I downloaded the application form, and I've been working on that for both of those two projects. And what I wanted to do was send the drafts that I have as well as the application forms, and I just sent you the application forms today, so you saw those. I wanted other eyes to take a look at those. I wanted to send those around to the Conservation Commission and the environmental officer, who is on vacation, unfortunately, for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to have to wait for that. And I also send it back to Brian Winter for a final review before we file them. So anybody have any questions?
John?
Barry, I know you came up with the finding that the assessors had the lot not properly demarcated. Any luck on trying to get that straightened out?
Yes, this is on Benson Road. What had happened was because we split off a piece of the original property and created a new lot, I guess there was some confusion. The records online that show the parcel listings, that's handled by a third party. It's not done by the town directly. So they were all confused by what happened, and they showed the Grabowski's property as being completely owned by the town of Stoughton, including the house, which was obviously incorrect. So I spoke to the director of assessing. He did get it partly straightened out, but more important for our purposes, he did give us the parcel number for the parcel that is going into the conservation restriction. That's really what I need. So when the assessors gets that all straightened out is, I don't know. I was concerned that because everything was listed as being owned by the town of Stoughton, including the house, which is not, the town might be shortchanged in terms of tax income. If it's not going to bill itself if it thinks it owns the house, and that's incorrect. What it turned out was that Paula Grabowski's she had actually been billed for the entire lot, even though she no longer owned the majority of it. So they did get that part straightened out, the billing, that is. And just the final, going online and finding the actual piece of property that the town owns in the online records that's handled by a third party, that has not happened yet. But like I said, I did get the lot number, the assessor's lot number, directly from the director of assessing.
Yes, so didn't you
I
say?
did one.
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you to Barry for catching that, and it's very important for the town and for getting this conservation restriction in place.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's another example of all the good that Barry does for this committee and for the town. The details, the devil can be in the details on this stuff. But didn't you say, Barry, the assessor had it right on their own records?
On their internal
It was
records,
really on
not
the third
public
party,
facing records.
and they will get it fixed,
They-
obviously.
Yeah, well, they had the parcel number.
Yeah,
They made a partial fix. They put all of all of the property back the way it was. In other words, all under Paula Grabowski's name, which is not correct either, but at least that's the way it was before the transaction. And I know there's a lag time. The transaction was last August. I would think that should be corrected at this point because we're in a new fiscal year. But I'll leave it to them to make the final corrections. I gave them the information.
Yeah.
It's in their hands.
And obviously, as we move forward with the conservation restriction, it'll be on the radar and you'll get it fixed for sure.
Yeah, what I did was on the application, where it asked for the lot number, I did say per director of assessing, in terms of, because if you go to the town site, you won't find it. It's also not on the GIS map either. That hasn't been updated as well.
Any other questions on Benson Road, Glen Echo, or Atkinson Ave?
And along those lines, I found Atkinson Ave, as you know, is 2 parcels. I did find that on the, well, 2 things. On the draft CR, that one of the parcel numbers was incorrect. And also, they listed the address as 0 Atkinson Ave in the assessor's office, as well as the deed shows the address as Washington Street. So I changed the address on the CR to Washington Street because I know that will get bounced back to us because it won't match.
Well done, Barry.
Very well done.
Good catch.
Okay, next update is on Cape and Reynolds. Mr. Terry.
Good evening, everyone. The most recent additions to the project is the rain pavilions, which are the rain pavilion, basically a shed over a seat like at a bus stop. Stanton Foundation alerted us about 2 months ago that we qualified for an additional $12,500, and could we use the money for some sort of capital involvement at the dog park, not for maintenance. We said yes. We wanted to do a video surveillance outside the range of that 12.5. So we were able to find these rain pavilions. They're about 7.5 feet high, shed roof, about 11 feet long. They've been installed a week ago today, and the equipment delivered, freight charges were $1,200 or $1,300. It was partially assembled. And the general contractor, Dandel Corporation, was kind enough to come in and install that and not exceed the 12.5 number. Fran Brutinetti, our great procurement officer, asked them to change their installation labor so it would fit within the labor, and the materials would be equivalent to no greater than 12.5, even though we still have money in the account from the original project. So that was done, and people are already recognizing, wow, this is new. And there's one for each side. And they are ADA compliant. The day that they came down, Nick Dufresne, our engineer, was there, and we discussed how we would situate the rain pavilion over the existing bench, but still allowed for a room for a wheelchair to get in underneath it as well. So we're trying to keep that as ADA compliant as possible. In addition to that, it's getting more and more popular all the time. And not just Stoughton, it's Canton, Resins, Easton, Randolph, Avon. A lot of people enjoy it, and they're taking good care of it. The place is neat. You very rarely see anything on the ground. So I'm happy to hear that. The other development is regarding the community garden. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in our last meeting, Town Hall was slow in getting the rules and regulations out, and therefore it didn't get advertised till late May. Subsequently, we have 4 gardeners out of possible 36. The Friends bought 1 garden, or I was renting 1 garden, and Central Forest has populated that particular raised bed and donated indigenous annual flowers, and they put a sign up, and he's going to do that each year. So we have now 4 pollination gardens in Stoughton. And the bees, I was over there today watering it, and the bees were busy, so we're doing well there. The other development is parking on the Pine Street side is a little tight, and someone managed to knock over one of the trash cans, which was bolted to the concrete pad, and one of the stones that was there to prevent people from driving into the rain garden actually got pushed into the rain garden. So Nick Dufresne and I have talked about eliminating that problem, putting up a proper barrier that people driving could see it. That won't happen. We're going to move the trash cans to another site on that side of Pine Street parking, and possibly add 2 more parking spaces. They're working on that detail now. And that funding would be still part of the funding we have left over from the original town meeting award. So, what else? Anything else?
Just in terms of the CPA money,
Yes.
where do we stand on that?
I believe we have about 115,000 left
Okay.
from the most recent funding from 2023.
But in terms of the project being complete,
Oh, I'm sorry, repeat that?
how, are we at 100% completion for the project at this
We're
point?
100% completion for the project, except for the contractors have to come back and do a punch list,
Okay.
such as remove the erosion control bales.
Right.
And also, we noticed 2 maple trees that they planted behind the house are not doing well. They're about 50% alive.
Okay.
So I brought that to the attention of engineering, and they're going to find out what recourse we have with the contractor.
Okay.
But what they have to do is come back and spend a day there. They'll probably try to combine that with this change order if that goes through regarding the additional parking, and we could use it there. We currently have 8 spaces on Pleasant Street. We have 2 standard spaces on Pine Street and 1 handicapped. And I was there the other day, and somebody was using a handicapped space. So, and they were handicapped.
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they install the additional parking, that will be part of CPA? the
Yes,
PCA project?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good addition, because that is one of the concerns that we saw, at least on social media. People were concerned about the number of parking spaces.
Yes, and it all boiled down to the fact that the information we had when we started with this project, we didn't realize the wetlands were so extensive until it was actually surveyed after the initial funding from the CPC money in 2015. That really changed everything. So, but so far, I'm there quite a bit. I walk my wife's dog there quite a bit, and people are not complaining as much as I thought they might
No, I mean,
about the parking.
yeah, no, I haven't heard anyone there complain. In fact, the times I was there, and I haven't been there in the last 2 months because I've been down at the Cape, but there wasn't a lot of people at any one time.
No, they straggle and they straggle out.
But boy, people appreciate it. As you said, I mean, I'll second what you were saying, is people from other towns as well as from Stoughton just think it's a great, great addition.
And John, your comments about leaving certain trees when we started clearing that area, more people have said that on the hottest days we've had this year, it's been cool and comfortable under that shaded area. So I blame you for that.
So you had a question?
All good stuff, all
Yeah,
good
so-
stuff.
Yeah, so all good comments.
I just have a comment. I just wanted to thank Rich for all the work. You know, we've thanked him before, but we can't thank him enough for how much work he's put into this. I also want to recognize the town employees. You know, Rich has mentioned several that have done an incredible job to get us the most bang for the buck here. And, you know, people love to denigrate town employees, but between Barry and all our other town employees, it sounds like they've done a fantastic job of maximizing our value and getting this done at a first-class level.
And I'd like to add, Reggie stepped up to handle the registrations for the community garden also.
Yeah, and actually, we were supposed to, regarding that, we were supposed to figure out how to create a registration process, and Paul Jaffoon, Matt Cushon, and myself were meeting about that, and it was Paul's idea. He said, it's a license, therefore licensing goes through the town clerk. And Reggie couldn't have stepped up faster or happier, so she's a good part of the program. One thing at the Cape and Farm, unrelated to the dog park and community garden, I've always thought that the Cape and Reynolds Farm should, because of its unique history and continued history, and the people, that family, were so unique and so well educated, that it should be part of the Stoughton School history curriculum. And I've been thinking about it for years. So about a month ago, I sent a message off to our superintendent, whom I've known 20-something years now. And it took him a month to get back to me. Yesterday he wrote back, apologies for the late return, but I'm forwarding you to the new superintendent-elect, principal of the high school. She takes over next July. And I have an appointment with the principal, Julie, next Tuesday to discuss this in her office. And the reason I want to do this is because once we have a purpose for that building and that property, it's all like the town depot, train station. Once we had a purpose, we now can go forward with some real funding requests for additional work. So no one said no yet, so we'll see what happens. Keep you posted.
Yeah, that's a good way to basically put the property in a place where it has a key role to play in the town. And it's a way to justify spending money to preserve it.
I'll tell you what initiated my final push on this. I was asked by a member of SMAC who's doing a documentary on Bessie T. Cable. She was like the great aunt of Bertha Cable. Evidently, she was the second woman ever admitted to MIT. So as we learn more about the family, we learned that these were highly educated people, well ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And so considering the history and considering the educational output that this family had, it seemed right that this should be part of our history curriculum. So there we go. We'll see.
And I want to second what John said about thanking you for all the work you've put in.
Oh, yeah.
Really,
It's been fun, it has been work. So,
Yes.
It's been a lot of work.
but it's a
We've
lot of work
seen
in doing it.
and listened as you gave us updates, Rich, and I'm just not sure we would have
Thank
got
you.
there without you.
you're welcome.
No, we wouldn't have.
But your last point, the whole history thing, that's kind of an exciting and segue into, as we go to our next year is the 300th anniversary.
Right.
And let's play that up and let's make sure, and if you get other funding, I think the CPC funding should be there to help. Leverage it with other funding, and there's just so much we can do, and really make that what you've always envisioned it to be for the town.
My goal is to get that on the state historical register. But to do that, you have to use the national historical protocol, which is not easy. And so this is one more step towards that.
Yeah, no, I think that whole thing is exciting.
So that's my report.
A
Thank you.
lot to be proud of.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, administrative item, chair's report. Not much to add to what we've said. On the treasury side, I've been talking with Biz, trying to get some, they're trying to finalize year-end numbers. She didn't want to run some reports that weren't final yet for for fiscal year 2025, so hopefully we'll get them soon. Although I don't know exactly when. I think this is going to push a little more pressure, not that we need to, on Barry, because he's got the ability, although he's still learning and trying to get better routine access to the system to run the reports for the committee. But Biz has kind of made it clear that while she's willing to do it, she really wants us to take that over and do more. We did submit a budget. I gave her a breakdown of the administrative budget, which I probably should have made copies in Barack, but pretty much just taking that lump sum 5% that we set aside as part of the budget at town meeting, breaking it down into the various expenses, salary, advertising, consulting, legal fees, coalition dues, etc. And she took that and said, yeah, you guys should do this every year. It's like, that's interesting, because last year when we tried to do it, you said no, you wanted to do it yourself, and no one ever asked us to do it before that, until the year Bill left, when all of a sudden Anne Marie was like, well, I can't get to it. And I said to her, then let me do it, and I said, send me last year's, we made up a template, plugged it in there, and that helped with a lot of things, because there's some accounting things that they can't do unless the budgets are in there, so. But anyway, going forward, I said, we can make that part of the annual budget. I mean, it's no big deal. It's taking that 5%, breaking it down into about 6 different accounts. So we will do that. So hopefully for the September meeting, we'll get an update on the expenditures, which is good because it'll actually give us an idea as they prepare the CP2. You recall the last 2 years where they had issues with the CP2. If they give us this information, we'll have a heads up and we'll know right away. So we will continue pressing on both of those fronts.
Thank you.
Administrators report, Barry? You got it?
I'm trying to think if there's anything new other than what I talked about with the CRs. Oh, I did go by the Hanson School, and it appears that they've got their new equipment. So we'll be hearing from them next month, at our next meeting. I don't know if anybody else has seen it.
No, I was gonna stop by there on the way up, I didn't make it, so I'll stop by tomorrow. I did go by both Halloran Park and Marks Field, and of course the train station, everybody rides by the train station. There's a lot of work going on there, but it's nice to see there's work started at Marks Field. They've got a lot of the environmental stuff, they got the whole property fenced off. And Matt has given us updates. I actually threw some pictures of both of those into the Google Drive. I set up a folder, I put 5 or 6 pictures. I just took them with the iPhone, similar to what we had done at the dog park when I was there earlier this year. So you can go into the Google Drive and see them, or if Barry, if you want to throw them up on the screen, we can do that, but nothing real fancy, just kind of shows that work is going on. And again, I think it's great when I see these projects moving forward. It's
Yeah,
taken a lot of work from this committee to get them there, and especially from the people running the projects, but
Yeah, we have a slew of projects that are really coming to completion now, which is good. And that's it for my administrator's report. The next thing I wanted to deal with was some language regarding our application. Let me just call it up. Bear with me for a moment. So what you see here in red is what I'm proposing for new application language. And what this will do is, you already had something that addresses, let's say somebody wanted to put in an application for land that they're not the owner of, or don't, if it's town land, for example, under number 2, under number 1. What I wanted to make sure is if there's a property that has a conservation restriction or some other similar type of deed restriction, that you have permission from the holder of that restriction to go forward with the project that you'd like to do, because that I was thinking back, for example, to the pavilion at Glen Echo, and realized that that's under a conservation restriction, at least part of it is now anyway. And at least I didn't have any record from Wildlands Trust, which is the conservation restriction holder, that they were okay with the construction. I just wanted to make sure that we got their approval before that construction started. It turned out they had reviewed it and they had approved it, they just hadn't gotten any, they had to put it in writing and sent it to the town. So fortunately, they did that, and they did give us their approval. So I just wanted to make sure that on our application, we're advising people up front that if you've got a property that's under a CR, you need to get the CR holder's approval also. Just as you would if you were using somebody else's property for your project.
another example of the devil being in the details. John?
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing, thank you, Barry,
Yeah.
because it is in the details, and thank you, Barry, for catching it.
So I think hopefully this will cover that contingency, which we didn't really have a procedure for prior to this. It's anything in red on this, on what you see on the screen is what I'm adding. You also may have a situation where you have a property that's owned by multiple entities. And I think it's important to have all the entities on board, that since their property, they share a property interest, that they all are okay with the project that's being proposed. So what I'd like to ask, excuse me, is that the committee approve these amendments to our application form.
Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the changes that Barry has proposed. We got so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, and a roll call vote. We'll go through. Bob Desmond,
Yeah.
Rich,
Yes.
John Linehan,
Yes.
Don Brady,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. And again, thank you, Barry, because it is. It's just more details that are very easy to escape us that could just cause headaches down the road for some. It's
Definitely.
interesting that in this case, we actually somehow had gotten it done, we just didn't have the documentation. So by building it into the application, it increases the chances that we'll catch it up front going forward, which is a good thing.
Right, well, I didn't even know that it had been done.
Yeah. It's like, how did it get done?
Well, I think they did it when they did their annual review. They also looked at the application.
Okay, so they
This
did.
was about the same time of year.
Yeah. No harm, no foul, but better still, it strengthen the process underlying what we do. Okay, we have next
Minutes.
minutes from the meeting of July 16th that went out a week or so ago, whenever it was. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? I read through them, I did not see anything.
I found them to be accurate.
Found them to be accurate as well. Any questions, concerns, comments on the minutes?
No, you know, I wasn't even there, but I've come to trust Barry's minutes so much that I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Bob Desmond,
Yeah.
Rich Terry,
Yes.
John Linehan,
Yes.
Don Brady,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you all.
I love having our minutes that up to date. Our last meeting and boom, they're done. It's a good place to be at. Any other unanticipated new business or emergency matters from the committee? Hearing none, I have none. Barry
No, I don't have any.
has none. Our next meeting date is September 3rd.
Labor Day is the first this year.
So it's the Wednesday after Labor Day. Is that still good for people? I don't have an issue with it.
Michael, when are you planning on leaving us?
Probably before year, well, definitely before year end. Now, whether it's October, November, I'm not 100% sure, because right now I'm transitioning. I sold the house to my daughter, but we haven't really moved out of there. We're still doing a lot of the construction down the Cape, so we're back and forth and in the process of moving. She gets married in late September, so she doesn't particularly want us to move back after her wedding. She didn't mind living there for free for the last few years, but somehow they don't want me there after they get married, so.
Well, that
But
having,
at some point,
I was gonna say, that having been said, we will need a new treasurer and a new chair, so something.
You have big shoes to fill,
Yes,
and Michael's been unbelievable, so I just want all our fellow members to be aware of that timing and be tough. Bob Desmond has a lot of financial background, and somebody thinking about being chair, and
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
don't want to leave it to the last minute.
now I would probably think about putting it on an agenda at some point. We can make the transition anytime people want, but I suspect that I will still try to keep a few fingers involved as long as I can, because I will miss this. It's been a pleasure working with you folks and getting to know you
We'll
folks.
miss you.
And I'm
Done a
certainly
great
gonna,
job in both positions.
I'm certainly gonna wanna come back and see the completion of some of these projects, because the last year it's been very exciting, as Barry said earlier, and there's just so many projects finally coming to completion over the past year that is great.
You sure you want to do this, Michael?
Now, it becomes a matter of, I don't live here anymore at some point, because, but I'll always have a place in my heart for the CPC here in Stoughton.
And we'll always be thankful for all you've done.
Okay, everybody's favorite motion then, coming up last on the agenda is the easy one, motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Anybody really want to discuss it? I didn't think so. We'll take a roll call vote. Bob Desmond?
Yes.
Rich Terry?
Yes?
John Lenahan?
Yes.
Don Brady?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So thank you all, and
Thank you all.
we'll see you in September. I have not, one last comment. I haven't really heard anything more about the fall town meeting. We'll get more information. I'm sure by September we'll know more about it.
Be good to know ahead of time.
That, I haven't, because it's the summer and I've been in Falmouth, I haven't been able to drop in and bug town manager, or more Biz and her folks, other than on the phone. But we'll get that information and have that, so thank you all.
All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for
Good night.
coming.